My name is Rachel Morgan. My dad used to say I was his pride, until one September evening that year, when he found the pregnancy test. His face turned bright red like it was on fire. He didn't ask questions. He didn't wait for an explanation. He just growled through his teeth. "You're no longer my daughter." I stood there, carrying a tiny life inside me. No home, no one, not a single dollar in my pocket. Just one promise to myself: I wouldn't give up this baby, and I wouldn't give up on us. I had just turned 19. My boyfriend, Nathan Rivera, had passed away from heart disease. He knew his time was short, and he only wanted one thing: a part of him to live on. We had plans. We picked out names. We imagined what the nursery would look like. Then just like that, he was gone. I never got to say goodbye. All I had left was the silver ring he gave me and the tiny heartbeat growing inside me. I called home. My mom picked up. I barely said hello. She hung up. I went back anyway, but the door never opened. My dad said, "Don't ever come back." I slept 3 nights at the bus station, holding my belly, listening to my heartbeat, terrified and aching. There were moments I wanted to disappear, but I remembered Nathan's words: "You're going to be the most amazing mom." I looked for work. No one wanted to hire a pregnant girl. No degree, no address, no references. Only one person reached out: Jessica Hall, an old classmate, now working as a bartender at a small bar. She let me crash on her couch and got me a gig washing glasses during night shifts. I worked from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., slept 4 hours, woke up for my prenatal checkups, ate instant noodles, drank water instead of milk. I never imagined my life would turn out like this. I used to dream of being an art teacher, teaching kids how to color their hopes. Now, I was just fighting to survive. At 6 months pregnant, I fainted during a shift. The doctor said I needed rest, or the baby might come early. But rest meant no job, and no job meant no food. I broke down in front of Jessica. She didn't say a word. She just cleared out her bedroom. She and her boyfriend moved to the living room. She gave me and the baby a bed. I didn't want to accept, but Jessica simply said, "I'm not letting you give birth in a sink." I've never forgotten that kindness. 3 months later, I gave birth 3 weeks early. Alone in a public hospital. No family, no flowers, no one waiting outside. Only an old letter from Nathan and the sketch he drew of me before he passed. I named the baby Leo Nathan Rivera. Leo means light. Nathan was his legacy. Leo weighed just 5.5 pounds at birth. So small. But his cry rang like a bell tower. The doctor said his lungs were strong. I held him close, and I knew we were going to make it. I wasn't the daughter my parents once bragged about. I wasn't the straight-A student anymore. I was just a single mom, with tired eyes and a heart learning how not to break. But I had never felt stronger. Every time I looked at Leo, I saw Nathan's eyes, and I remembered, real love doesn't die. It lives in the smallest things, in a baby's breath, in a hug that holds you when you cry. 13 years later. The journey is too long to put into words, but I'll try to tell you, step by step, tear by tear, every door that slammed shut, and every stranger who helped save our lives. And I'll tell you about the day my dad came back, hands trembling, voice cracking, and asked the question he should have asked years ago. Is he my grandson? After I was discharged from the hospital, I returned to Jessica's tiny room. Leo slept peacefully in my arms. Every time he stirred, my heart sank a little. Not from fear, but from love. Love for a baby, born into a world of scarcity. No father, no grandparents, only a mother. Still too young, still learning everything. Jessica bought me a second-hand breast pump. I trained Leo to take a bottle so I could work the night shift again. Back to the bar, back to washing glasses. But it felt different now. Now I had a reason to keep going. I slept 3 hours a day, then woke to change diapers, feed my baby, wipe the floor, fold laundry. Some days, I was so exhausted, I would fall asleep in the chair while nursing Leo. Jessica was an angel. She didn't know how to soothe a baby, but she always brewed coffee for me. Every morning when I got home, there was a hot cup waiting on the tiny kitchen counter, with a little note in marker. You got this, Mama Leo. Leo grew so fast. He smiled early. By 3 months, he could recognize my face. Every time I leaned in close, he reached out, touched my cheek, eyes wide and sparkling. In those moments, I felt truly loved. No one called me daughter anymore. No one visited. No birthday wishes. No Christmas cards. No Mother's Day phone calls. Just Leo. Just his laughter. Just the warmth of a love born from survival. I received a special scholarship at a local community center, a vocational program for single moms. I chose early childhood education, not for some big noble reason, but because I wanted more time with my son. By day, I studied. By night, I worked. The space between those two lives was a 15-minute nap on a bus bench, an alarm ringing at 3 a.m., calloused hands, and circles under my eyes. But I didn't complain. I had chosen this. I made a promise to Nathan. I would protect Leo. I would give him a life that meant something. The day Leo rolled over for the first time, I was holding a tray of glasses at work. Jessica sent me a video. I watched it on my break and cried uncontrollably. Some customers complained that their glass had tears in it, but I didn't care. The first time Leo said mama was during my final exam, I walked out mid-test, ran home. Leo was sitting on a mattress, beaming. I scooped him up in my arms, and for the first time in years, I knew I'd done something right. I graduated earlier than expected, got hired at a nearby preschool. The principal, a woman named Brenda, looked me in the eyes and said, "We don't just hire teachers. We hire people who understand children from the heart." And I did understand children. Because I had once watched a baby cry in the dark, no lullaby, no embrace. I understood children because I had once held my baby in trembling arms under a cold, rainy sky with nowhere to go. I understood children because Leo had taught me how. 3 years after he was born, Leo joined the preschool where I worked. Every morning, he ran into my arms. Every afternoon, I walked him home. We ate egg noodles, watched cartoons. Leo often asked about his dad. I told him only the best things about Nathan. That he played guitar, he painted, he could bake cookies, and he once sang me to sleep. Leo smiled and said, "I just wish I could meet him once." I didn't say a word. I just held him tighter and silently thought, he sees you, baby. He sees everything. When Leo turned 4, he was smart, sweet, and full of questions. He'd often watch other kids getting picked up by their dads, then turn to me and ask, "Did Daddy kiss your forehead too? Did Daddy know how to push a swing, Mama?" I smiled, quietly answered every question. "Daddy used to kiss my forehead every night. He once promised to push you so high on the green swing we dreamed about." Leo stared at me for a long time. His eyes shimmered, like something inside him had cracked. Then he wrapped his arms around me and whispered, "I miss Daddy, even though I've never seen him." I kept the drawings Nathan left behind. One of them was of me pregnant, loose hair, a cozy sweater, hands gently cradling my belly, each line drawn like a breath of love. I hung that picture in Leo's room, so he would know he was created from love. Not a mistake, not a shame, but the most beautiful thing two people could ever make together. One winter night, Leo came down with a high fever. I held him in my arms all night long, and I remembered that first night we slept at the bus station. Back then, I had nothing. Now I had him. A small rented home, a steady job, and an old armchair where we read books together every evening. The next morning, I took Leo to the clinic. The doctor said it was a throat infection. He'd need to stay home for a few days. I took unpaid leave. It cost us money, but I didn't regret it. I sat by his bed non-stop, wiped his forehead, fed him soup, read him stories, sang him lullabies. Leo held my hand even in his sleep, and in a faint, sleepy voice he whispered, "Mom, I saw Daddy in my dream." I stopped singing. Tears came so fast I couldn't even swallow them. He said Daddy was standing under a tree, calling his name, smiling. I didn't know what to believe, but I believed Leo wasn't lying. Kids feel the things we adults have forgotten, especially when we stop believing in miracles. That day, I opened a little box and showed it to Leo. Inside was the silver ring, Nathan's handwritten letter, and one of the only photos we ever took together. Leo stared for a long time, then asked, "Did Daddy really love me, Mama?" I placed my hand over my heart, where I believe Nathan still lives. "You were everything to him," I said. "He just couldn't stay long enough." Leo didn't cry. He just nodded, then grabbed a sheet of paper and started drawing. He drew a man with sad eyes, standing in a sunny garden, holding a heart-shaped balloon. At the bottom corner, he wrote Leo's daddy. I've kept that drawing ever since, in the drawer closest to my heart, right beside all the things I've never said out loud. Leo started first grade. His backpack looked bigger than he was. He clutched his watercolor set, eyes shining like the morning stars. I walked him to the school gate. My heart was restless with worry. Would he be okay? Would kids make fun of him? Would anyone ask about his dad? Leo turned to me and said, "Don't worry, Mama. I've got Dad in my heart, and I've got you right here." I stood still, squeezed his little hand one more time, then let go, and watched him disappear into the crowd of kids. The days that followed, Leo would come home, telling me about class, about his curly-haired teacher, about a boy named Tommy who was always messing around, and about the first picture he drew. He drew a tiny house with two people, one big, one small, hugging each other beneath the moonlight. Leo's teacher sent the drawing home with a note attached. Your son has a deeply sensitive soul. Please protect that. I folded the paper carefully, tucked it into the drawer, where I kept all of Leo's drawings and a few of the sketches Nathan once made for me. That March, the school joined a citywide art contest. Each student could submit one piece. Leo chose the one titled The Man Under the Tree. I asked him, "Don't you want to pick something more cheerful?" Leo shook his head. "I want people to know my dad." I nodded, though my heart was uneasy. A 7-year-old child carrying the memory of a father he never met, walking into a contest with nothing but hope. 3 weeks later, I got a call from the school office. "Congratulations," they said. "Your son just won first place in the entire city." I froze, then burst into tears during my lunch break. My coworkers stared, confused. I couldn't say a word. I just cried. On award day, Leo wore a crisp white shirt. He stood on stage, holding his certificate and a little palette-shaped trophy. A local reporter was there. They asked him, "Why did you choose that drawing?" Leo stepped up to the mic. "I never met my dad. He passed away when I was still in my mom's belly. I've only heard stories from her, but I feel like he's always been close." The room went silent for a few seconds. Then applause filled the auditorium. That day, local newspapers ran a story about Leo, the boy who drew the father he never met. His drawing made the front page. The story spread online. People started calling him the boy with a heart that sees the past. I never imagined that a drawing Leo made late at night would open a door that brought the world back to us. 3 days later, I received an email. The sender was Mark Morgan, my brother, the one who stood at the door 15 years ago and told me I wasn't welcome home. I opened the email. The subject line was just 2 words: "I'm sorry." My hands trembled. I wasn't ready, but I clicked it anyway. The message was short and strange in a way. Mark had written, "Rachel, I saw Leo on TV. I know you probably don't want to hear from us, but Mom and Dad, they'd like to see their grandson. No pressure, just asking you to consider it. I'm truly sorry for everything back then." I read it over and over. Each word felt like it had thorns. I remembered that rainy night. Dad yelling and slamming the door. Mom turning her face away. Mark standing in front of me, saying nothing. Not asking. Not defending. Just silent. 15 years. No texts. No birthday cards. And now, they wanted to meet my son. I shut my laptop. Sat in silence for hours. Leo was sketching in the corner. He looked up, noticed something in my face, and walked over. "What's wrong?" "Mama, did something happen?" I pulled him close, searching for the right words, then whispered, "Someone who once left Mama behind. They want to meet you now." Leo paused. "You mean Grandma and Grandpa?" I nodded. He looked at me for a long time, then asked, "Did they ever love you?" I swallowed hard. Didn't know how to answer. Finally, I said, "Maybe they did, but they were afraid, and they made the wrong choice." Leo stayed quiet for a while, then asked, "Do I get to choose? Can I decide if I want to meet them?" I hugged him tighter. "Yes, sweetheart. You always get to choose. You don't owe anyone anything." Leo nodded, then said, but I want to see their faces, just to know who I look like. I sighed. You really are Nathan's son. So gentle, so steady. That night, I wrote a reply to Mark. You can bring them, but they stay outside the gate. No pressure, no guilt, no harsh words. Only speak if Leo wants to listen. 2 days later, a car pulled up in front of our house. 3 people stepped out. A gray-haired man with a cane, a petite woman clutching a tissue, and Mark, still tall. But his eyes, they looked older now. Leo stood by the window, watching, then asked, "Is that Grandpa?" I nodded. Leo opened the door, walked out first. I followed behind, my hand gently on his shoulder. No one spoke at first. My father looked at Leo, tears in his eyes. I barely recognized the man who once screamed at me. He finally spoke, his voice trembling. "Your name's Leo, right? You look a lot like your dad." Leo nodded. "I know. Mama tells me stories all the time." "And you are?" My dad bowed his head. "I'm your grandfather, if you'll let me be." Leo paused, then reached out his hand. "I'll allow it." My mother broke down crying. Mark swallowed hard. And me, I stood there, not happy, not angry, just hollow. My father looked at me. "Rachel, I'm sorry." I turned away, said nothing. I wasn't that girl waiting for an apology anymore. I didn't invite them in. We just stood in the yard, facing each other in the soft fading light. Mark was the first to break the silence. "You doing okay?" I know it's way too late to ask, but I still wanted to. I nodded. There wasn't much else to say. My father stood still, his hand gripping the cane like it was holding him together. My mother wiped her eyes. "I've waited 15 years for this day." I turned to Leo. He whispered, "Mama, can they stay for dinner?" I paused, looked into his eyes, so clear, so forgiving, not burdened by bitterness. I sighed, turned to them. If everyone keeps their word, no blaming, no bringing up the past, then yes, come in. Mark nodded slightly. My father closed his eyes. My mother placed a hand on my shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. We sat around the dinner table. I made spaghetti. Leo set the spoons and chopsticks. No one spoke loudly, only the soft clinks of silverware on plates. Leo broke the silence. "Grandpa, what did you do before you retired?" My dad smiled gently. "I was a literature teacher. Now I'm just an old man who plants flowers." "Do you know how to write poems?" Leo asked. "A little," he said. "But I'm better at reading sad ones." Leo nodded, then read us one. The room fell still. My father glanced at me. I didn't nod, didn't shake my head, just kept scooping noodles onto Leo's plate. He began reading in a low, steady voice, a poem with no title, but I knew every word. It was the same poem he used to read to me when I was little, sitting in his lap, thinking he was the greatest man in the world. His voice trembled toward the end. I looked at my mother. She turned away, but I saw her shoulders quietly shake. Dinner passed with no judgment, no accusations, no talk of old wounds, just flowers, and classrooms, and poetry. After the dishes were done, my mother hesitated. "Rachel, may I see Leo's room?" I stayed silent for a moment, then nodded. Leo grabbed her hand and led her upstairs. I stayed behind, sitting across from my father. He poured us water. His hands trembled slightly, not from age, but from whatever he was about to say. "I was wrong," he began. "So wrong. Not just for sending you away, but for not having the courage to listen." I didn't answer right away. I looked down at my hand, still wearing Nathan's silver ring. Under the light, it shimmered in a strange, beautiful way. I finally spoke. "I don't need an apology. I just need you to stop pretending. Like I never existed in that house." He nodded. "I understand. And from now on, if you'll let me, I'd like to start again." In that moment, I wasn't sure if I had forgiven him. But I knew this Leo deserved to be loved more. Not to fill a gap, but to know what it means to be held in arms wider than anger. That month, Leo was selected to perform a piano piece at the city's annual spring concert. His teacher called me, told me the piece he composed himself had made it into the featured performers list. I was stunned. Leo was only 10 years old, and yet he had written a melody full of feeling. I asked him, "Where did you get the inspiration from?" He smiled. "I wrote it for Dad. A song he can hear from the sky." I pulled him into my arms. My heart tightened, not from sadness, but from pride. I sent invitations to my parents, not expecting anything, just wanting them to see what they once chose to miss. The concert was held at the Grand Theater. Every seat was filled. The sound of music echoed through the hall. Leo was third on the program. He wore a crisp white shirt, a purple bow tie, his hair combed neatly. He sat down at the piano, unusually calm. The title of the piece, "The Man I Never Met." When the first note played, the entire hall fell silent. The melody was soft melancholy, but full of hope. I looked around, saw my mother wiping her tears. My father had his hand over his chest. Mark held his wife's hand tightly. I sat still, clutching the chain around my neck, still wearing the silver ring Nathan left behind. At the climax of the piece, Leo played the keys with urgency, then suddenly paused, as if holding his breath, then finished with a slow, gentle series of notes, like a quiet goodbye. The entire audience erupted. Applause thundered through the room, refusing to stop. I cried, no hiding, no holding back. Because in that moment, everything felt worth it. Leo stood and bowed, the spotlight on him like an angel delivering music to the world. After the concert, my mother came to me. She didn't say anything, just held my hand. For the first time in 15 years, her hand wasn't cold. My father came over too. "Rachel," he said, "you raised a genius. Not because of talent, but because of the heart you left inside that boy." I nodded quietly, and for the first time, I wasn't angry anymore. Leo walked over. "Did you like the song, Grandma, Grandpa?" My father pulled him into a hug. "You made me feel young again, kiddo." My mother whispered, "Your dad? He must be smiling up there." Leo looked to the sky. "I know. He always listens when I play." A week after the concert, I received a strange letter. A plain white envelope postmarked from New York. The sender's name, Helmsworth Institute of Music. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was an official invitation for Leo. He'd been selected to join a special national training program for gifted young musicians. I read it over and over again. Each word felt like a new light breaking into our world. This was the place Nathan used to dream about. The place he once said he wanted to take his son someday. Leo asked at me, "Am I really going to study there, Mama?" I nodded. "If it's what you want. We'll do everything we can." Leo hugged me tightly, just like that first day of school. Only this time, he understood what dreams were. That night, I sat down to go through our finances. Our savings weren't enough. The tuition was steep, and the trip to New York wouldn't be cheap either. I sighed, but I would figure it out. I'd gotten through worse than this. The very next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. A deep male voice on the line. He introduced himself as Nathan's attorney. "Are you Rachel?" he asked. "There's something I need to tell you." I could feel my heart pounding. He explained that Nathan had once joined a special sponsorship program. Before he passed, he had helped design a music software project. Because the project succeeded, a scholarship fund was created in his name, and Leo was selected as the very first recipient. I stood frozen. I thought I had known everything about Nathan, but even after death, he had been quietly preparing for Leo's tomorrow. The scholarship covered everything: full tuition, living expenses, and even a caregiver's stipend. I broke down in tears. Right there in the living room, Leo ran out. "Mama, what's wrong? Did something bad happen?" I wiped my tears, pulled him into my arms. "No, baby. Not sadness, just overwhelmed. Your dad is still watching over you." That evening, I told Leo everything his father had done. Even knowing he didn't have much time left, he had planned for every one of Leo's tomorrows. Leo sat silently, then went to his piano. He played "The Man I Never Met Again." But this time, softer, slower, like each note carried a thank you. I stood by the doorway, my fingers brushing the chain around my neck. Nathan's silver ring, still warm, even after all these passing seasons. That October, we arrived in New York, just me and Leo, one small suitcase, and one very big dream. Helmsworth Academy stood in the heart of the city. Its gates were tall and black wrought iron and full of history. But inside, music echoed day and night, echoed day, and Leo held my hand tightly. "Mama," he said, "I'm a little scared, but also really excited." I smiled. "Just be yourself, baby. Music brought you here, and music will always be beside you." The showcase happened 2 weeks later. Leo was the youngest performer, but also the one who brought the entire hall to silence. He sat at the grand piano. The spotlight gently brushed his hair. I sat in the front row, fingers curled around my necklace just like always. He played a new piece. He titled it "No One Left Behind." Each note told our story. There were cold winters, sleepless nights, tears that never got answers, hands of strangers who reached out, and a father gone too soon, but who lit the path for everything to come. When the music stopped, the whole room stood up. Applause thundered in waves. I cried, but not from pain anymore. I cried like someone who had finally kept a promise. To herself, to Nathan, and to the child she once held in the dark. After the concert, a reporter asked me, "Do you have anything you want to say to people who've ever been rejected?" I paused, then said, "Don't let anyone define your worth. Not even those who once called you family. Real love doesn't come with conditions. It doesn't demand. It doesn't shame. It only needs a heart wide enough and a faith that lasts long enough." I looked into the camera. If you've ever been kicked out of your home, if you've ever been called a disappointment, if you've ever had to start over from zero, remember this: you are not alone, and you are not worthless. You just need one person to believe in you long enough. Until you believe in yourself again. I'm Rachel Morgan. 15 years ago, I was disowned by my parents for getting pregnant, for loving at the wrong time, for keeping what I believed was right. Today, I sit here as the mother of a young musician, as the founder of the Nathan Rivera Scholarship Fund, as a regular woman who knows she did the right thing. Leo stepped out from backstage. He wrapped his arms around me and said, "I'm proud to have you as my mom and to have Dad in my heart." I smiled. We didn't lose anyone, baby. We just found each other in a different way. Thank you for walking this journey with us. If you're listening to this story, leave a comment. I still choose love. Because even if someone walked away from you, you are still worthy of love, and you were never small.